Don't let the narcissist think they can dominate and hurt you anymore, and make them bow down before you. Have you ever felt like someone was trying to steal your light? Have you ever poured love into someone only to feel drained, manipulated, or even broken by their cruelty? If you've had any kind of relationship with a narcissist, romantic, familial, professional, you know what it feels like to be controlled, used, and made to feel small. And when you finally break free, they don't always disappear quietly. No, they fight back. They try to regain control. They attempt to make you doubt yourself again. But here's something most people don't realize. You have more power than they do. Not because you're stronger in body, but because you are stronger in spirit. And if you're ready to discover how to reclaim your energy, rise above their manipulation, and make them bow down not out of fear, but out of respect, then keep watching, because today, we're diving deep into the spiritual truth behind true strength, divine protection, and how walking in alignment with your higher self makes narcissists powerless against you. If this speaks to your journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who may need to hear these words. Let's begin. There comes a moment in every survivor's journey when the truth becomes clear. The narcissist never really had power over you. That power was only an illusion, one built on your own doubts, fears, and willingness to believe their lies. The real power has always been within you, hidden beneath layers of pain, confusion, and heartbreak. But now, it's time to awaken it. Because once you align with your spiritual center, once you stop giving your energy away, and once you choose peace over chaos, you become untouchable. And that's when the narcissist begins to lose ground. Not because you attack them, not because you seek revenge, but because you no longer react, you no longer fear, you no longer give them the emotional fuel they depend on. And in that silence, they begin to tremble. Here's the first lesson from the spiritual master. True strength is not about dominance. It's about detachment. Narcissists thrive on emotional reactions. They want you angry. They want you desperate. They want you chasing explanations, apologies, or closure. But when you stop reacting, when you stop feeding their ego, when you simply walk away without looking back, you strip them of their greatest weapon, your energy. That's when they panic. That's when they try harder. That's when they come back begging, manipulating, or pretending to change. Because they can't stand being ignored. It threatens their entire identity. So instead of fighting them, ignore them. Instead of arguing, detach. Instead of proving them wrong, prove yourself right by living a life so full, so peaceful, and so radiant that they can't help but notice. And in noticing, they bow down, not out of admiration but out of defeat. Now let's talk about the most powerful force in the universe, inner peace. A spiritual master does not gain power through anger or retaliation. They gain it through stillness, through clarity, through knowing that they are connected to something far greater than the petty games of the ego. When you find that peace, when you anchor yourself in the presence of God, the narcissist's influence fades. Their words lose weight, their actions lose impact. Their attempts to provoke you become meaningless, because you no longer see them as threats. You see them for what they are, wounded souls clinging to power because they fear being seen. And once you understand that, you stop fearing them. You stop letting their presence or absence define your worth. You stop believing their stories. And in doing so, you rise. You rise beyond their reach, beyond their control, beyond their world. And that rising is the most powerful form of justice there is. Another teaching from the spiritual master. Do not seek revenge, seek elevation. Many survivors struggle with the desire to hurt the narcissist the way they were hurt, to expose them, to shame them, to watch them suffer. But here's the deeper truth. Revenge keeps you stuck in their energy. It binds your soul to theirs. It gives them space in your thoughts, your prayers, and your dreams. True victory is not in hurting them back. It's in becoming so whole, so healed, and so aligned with your purpose that they can no longer touch you. When you live in peace, they feel unrest. When you radiate joy, they feel emptiness. When you speak with calm authority, they feel powerless. Because they can no longer shake your foundation. They can no longer pull you into their chaos. And that quiet, unshakable presence is what makes them bow, not out of love, but out of frustration. They may never admit it, but deep down, they know. You are no longer their victim. You are their mirror, and they don't like what they see. Now let's explore the role of divine timing in your healing. One of the most difficult parts of recovering from narcissistic abuse is the feeling that they are getting away with what they did to you. They seem to move on easily. They find new sources of admiration. They pretend nothing happened. But those who walk the spiritual path understand something most people don't. God sees everything. He hears everything. And He sets things right in His perfect time. You don't have to rush justice. You don't have to fight their battles. You don't have to explain yourself or prove your worth. All you have to do is rise, heal, grow, align with your highest self. Because when you walk in alignment with your divine purpose, you step into a realm where narcissists cannot follow. They may try to drag you back. They may send messages. They may show up unexpectedly. They may try to rewrite history, but you remain grounded. You remain centered. You remain untouched by their noise. And in that stillness, they begin to bow, not out of choice, but out of inevitability, because no one can dominate someone who no longer fears them. Let's talk about the energy of surrender, a concept many spiritual seekers struggle with. Surrender doesn't mean giving up. It means giving over. It means releasing your pain, your anger, your need for control into the hands of something greater than yourself. And when you do that, when you truly release your burdens to God, you begin to feel something shift inside you. You begin to feel lighter, stronger, clearer. You stop needing their validation. You stop seeking their apology. You stop waiting for their change, because you already found peace. And that peace becomes a shield, a divine armor that protects you from their toxicity forever. That's when the narcissist realizes they've lost. Not because you told them so, but because they feel it. They sense your energy. They see your confidence. They witness your growth. And in that moment, they bow, not with their knees, but with their hearts, because they know they've met someone who no longer plays their game, someone who walks in the light of the divine. And that light blinds them. Now let's discuss the power of forgiveness, not for them, but for yourself. Forgiveness is not about saying what they did was okay. It's about saying you are no longer willing to carry the weight of their actions. A spiritual master understands that holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. It harms you far more than it harms them. So, forgiveness is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's freedom. It's the final act of taking back your power. And once you forgive, you no longer give them a home in your mind. You no longer allow their memory to haunt you. You no longer let their past behavior define your future. You reclaim your energy, your time, your peace, and in doing so, you become unshakable. You become unstoppable. You become a vessel of light that narcissists can no longer dim. And that is when they bow down, not out of respect, but out of recognition. Recognition that they can no longer manipulate you. Recognition that you are no longer afraid. Recognition that you are walking in divine truth, and that truth cannot be undone. Another powerful truth: narcissists feed off of your suffering. As long as you are struggling, grieving, or reacting emotionally, they feel strong. As long as you are caught in the cycle of pain, they feel superior. But when you heal, when you grow, when you shine brighter than ever before, that's when their world begins to crumble. Because they expected you to fall apart. They expected you to beg for another chance. They expected you to stay trapped in the prison they tried to build for you. Instead, you walked out. You rebuilt. You rose. And now, you are living proof that their manipulation failed. And nothing terrifies a narcissist more than failure. So yes, they may still try to reach out. They may still try to provoke you. They may still try to pull you back in. But when you respond with calm, with grace, with unshakable peace, they begin to bow, because they realize they can't control what they don't understand. And they will never understand the power of a soul at peace. Now let's address the importance of setting energetic boundaries. A spiritual master does not waste time explaining themselves to those who refuse to listen. They do not justify their choices to those who will never accept them. Instead, they set boundaries, not just physically, but energetically. They remove the narcissist from their thoughts, from their conversations, from their prayers. They stop checking social media. They stop responding to provocations. They stop giving the narcissist space in their inner world, because they understand that where your attention goes, your energy flows, and if you continue to focus on them, you continue to feed them. But when you stop giving them your energy, you weaken their hold on you. And that's when they begin to bow, not out of choice, but out of necessity, because they can no longer drain what is no longer available. Another key point, the narcissist's downfall is often silent. Unlike the dramatic endings we see in movies, the real unraveling of a narcissist rarely happens in public. It happens in private moments when their lies begin to fall apart, when their image starts to crack, when people start seeing through their mask. And while you may never witness this unraveling, rest assured, it is happening. Because narcissism is a house built on sand. It looks strong from the outside, but underneath, it's unstable. And when the storms come, and they always do, the house falls. You don't have to bring them down. You simply have to walk away. And as you walk toward the light, they sink deeper into the darkness. Because they were never meant to last. They were only meant to teach you who you are not. And in learning that, you became who you truly are. And that is when they bow, not in front of you, but in the face of your transformation. Now let's explore the idea of divine justice, not vengeance. Many survivors ask, will they ever face consequences? The answer is yes, but not always in the ways you expect. Divine justice is not about punishment. It's about exposure, about truth, about balance. Narcissists live in deception, and deception cannot survive in the light. Eventually, everyone sees through them. Eventually, their lies catch up to them. Eventually, the people around them begin to distance themselves. And when that happens, the narcissist finds themselves alone again, just like before they met you. Only this time, they can't blame anyone else. This time, they see the pattern clearly. And that realization? That is their downfall. Because narcissists can handle rejection, they can handle isolation. What they cannot handle is facing the truth. And that truth is this: they chose manipulation over love, control over connection, pride over humility, and now they must live with the consequences. Let's also talk about the law of karma, not as punishment, but as reflection. Whatever energy you put into the world eventually returns to you. The narcissist spent years draining others, lying, manipulating, and discarding people when they no longer served their needs. And now the same thing is happening to them. People are beginning to leave them. People are beginning to question them. People are beginning to walk away. And they don't understand why. Because they still believe they are in control. But the universe knows better. And slowly but surely, the truth catches up with them. Their betrayals return to them. Their lies are exposed. Their masks slip. And as they watch their carefully curated life fall apart, they look for someone to blame. But no matter how much they twist the story, the truth remains. They chose the path of destruction. And now, they must walk it alone. Now, let's talk about the ultimate spiritual weapon, non-attachment. A spiritual master does not cling to people, places, or outcomes. They do not need validation from the world to feel whole. And that is the most dangerous position for a narcissist to face. Because narcissists thrive on attachment, on dependency, on the belief that you need them. But when you show them that you don't, you strip them of their power. You stop giving them the emotional fuel they crave. You stop allowing them to disrupt your peace. You stop playing their games. And in doing so, you become something they can never be. You become free. And that freedom is the most painful truth they will ever face. Because they will spend their lives searching for the peace you've already found. And they will never understand how you got it without them. Let's also talk about the importance of walking in your truth, even when it makes them uncomfortable. A spiritual master does not hide their light to make others feel safe. They shine brightly, unapologetically, and consistently. And when you do the same, the narcissist begins to feel threatened because they know they can't compete with authenticity. They know they can't match your integrity. They know they can't replicate your peace. And that knowledge forces them into retreat. They may not say it, they may not admit it, but they feel it. They feel the weight of your presence, the clarity of your truth, the power of your silence. And in that silence, they begin to bow, not outwardly, but inwardly, because they know they've met someone who cannot be shaken, someone who no longer fears them, someone who has stepped into the light, and that light is too bright for them to endure. Now let's talk about the role of faith in your healing. Faith is not blind belief. Faith is trust. Trust that you are protected, that you are guided, that you are loved. And when you place your trust in something greater than the chaos of a narcissist's world, you begin to feel a shift. You begin to feel safe again, whole again, powerful again. And that power is not loud. It is quiet. It is unwavering. It is divine. And when you walk in that faith, when you trust in your purpose, your value, and your destiny, you become immune to their games. They may still try to reach you. They may still try to provoke you. They may still try to rewrite history, but none of it touches you anymore, because you are covered in divine protection, guided by divine wisdom, empowered by divine truth. And that truth is this: you are not here to fight them. You are here to transcend them. And that transcendence is what makes them bow, not in submission, but in defeat. Now let's explore the idea of mirroring and how it works in your favor. Narcissists reflect the energy of those around them. If you give them fear, they feed off of it. If you give them anger, they use it against you. If you give them sadness, they twist it into guilt. But when you give them peace, when you give them clarity, when you give them truth, they can't mirror it. They can't fake it. They can't sustain it. And that makes them vulnerable, because they don't know how to operate in a world where people no longer react, where people no longer chase explanations, where people no longer care enough to fight. And when they realize that you no longer see them as a threat, that you see them as a passing shadow, they begin to bow, because they know they've lost. They just don't know how to admit it. Another essential truth: you are not meant to fix them. You are meant to rise above them. A spiritual master never wastes energy trying to change those who refuse to grow. They understand that some people are only meant to teach us lessons, not to stay in our lives. And the lesson the narcissist taught you was this: never again will you give your power away. Never again will you tolerate disrespect. Never again will you allow someone to define your worth. And that lesson changed everything. Because now, you walk through life with awareness, with strength, with boundaries. And that is the greatest victory of all. Because you didn't just survive the narcissist, you transformed. And in that transformation, they are forced to bow, not in fear but in awe of the person you've become. Let's also talk about what happens when you begin to forgive yourself. Many survivors carry guilt. They replay moments in their minds. They wonder if they could have done something differently, if they gave too much, if they stayed too long. But a spiritual master teaches that healing begins with self-forgiveness. You did the best you could with what you knew. You trusted when you should have questioned. You gave love when you should have given caution. But none of that makes you weak. It makes you human. And now, as you learn, grow, and evolve, you begin to glow with a light that narcissists cannot tolerate. Because they see in you what they will never have: peace, clarity, freedom. And that is what makes them bow, not in repentance, but in jealousy. Because they know they threw away something real, and they know they'll never get it back. Now let's talk about the power of silence. A spiritual master understands that silence is the loudest form of strength. When you stop explaining, when you stop defending, when you stop engaging, you take back your power. And when a narcissist tries to provoke you when you say nothing, they begin to panic. Because silence is the one response they cannot control. Silence leaves them with their own thoughts, their own guilt, their own crumbling reality. And that silence is the beginning of their undoing. Because they can't manipulate what refuses to speak. They can't control what refuses to react. They can't dominate what no longer fears them. And that is when they begin to bow, not with their mouths but with their energy, because they know you've moved on, and they can never follow. Now, let's explore the idea of karma, not as punishment, but as consequence. Narcissists spend their lives building false images. They create illusions of love, success, and happiness, but none of it is real. And when the time comes for the truth to rise, their world begins to fall apart. Not because you cursed them, not because you wished harm upon them. No, because they lived a lie, and lies always collapse under their own weight. And when that collapse begins, they look around for someone to blame. But no one believes them anymore, because the world is waking up, and they are falling asleep. And that is when they begin to bow not in front of you, but in front of the truth they refuse to face. Finally, let's talk about what comes next, because healing is not a single event. It is a journey, a process, a rebirth. And as you continue to grow, to heal, to walk in your truth, you begin to radiate a frequency that narcissists cannot tolerate. They may still try to reach out. They may still try to manipulate. They may still try to remind you of the pain they caused. But you won't flinch. You won't react. You won't fall into old patterns, because you've learned the most powerful truth of all. You are not defined by what they did to you. You are defined by what you do after it. And what you're doing now, rising, shining, growing, is what makes them bow. Not out of love, not out of remorse, but out of defeat. Because they finally understand that you are no longer afraid. And that is the end of their power. Thank you for watching. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing so you don't miss any future content. Sharing this video with others can also make a difference, especially for those still in the midst of narcissistic abuse and searching for hope. Remember, you are not alone, you are not crazy, and you are not to blame. You are strong, you are wise, and you are worthy of a life filled with love, peace, and authenticity. Keep going, keep growing, keep shining, because the world needs your light, and God is still writing your story.